One Piece, Marco ascends as the ultimate phoenix. Episode 31. The next work, Stuxy is quite cooperative, she dare not cooperate. This is the world of pirates where strength is supreme. When he really saw Marco kill the 3 lieutenant generals in seconds, Stussy completely surrendered. I'll stay here and follow Sister Stussy, Bolivia suddenly said. She made up her mind. Before she had the absolute ability to help Marco, she had been staying here, improving her ability, and striving to become a girl who never dragged behind as soon as possible. Okay, for Bolivia's choice, Marco was slightly surprised. The sensible and smart and well-behaved girl was really very pleasing. And finally Marco asked for her life paper. Bolivia stayed, and there was another advantage, that is, to stare at Stussy. Of course, Stussy was intimidated by Marco's strength, and presumably he would not mess around, but only to prevent it. Got the latest news, the Blackbeard Pirates appeared in the waters near Baltigo on the White Earth Island. Stussy came in from another place, and it took her a lot of effort to get the latest news from the Blackbeard Pirates. For a little disintegration of the Blackbeard Pirates, until the final removal of the Blackbeard Pirates, this is Marco's own decision. Blackbeard Pirates for themselves, is a hidden viper, or the Viper King. If not removed one day, it will make Marco feel uneasy one day. So, it's better to get rid of it. Head-to-head combat is clearly an unwise choice. So, all members of the Blackbeard Pirates are in the waters near Baltigo? Marco pressed. Not all. Stussy dared to come and report the situation. Naturally she had received accurate information. She pursed her lips. Abaro Pizarro and Sisas Bashas. These two appeared together near the island of Stanselt in the Great Passage, and it is said that they went for a capable person on the island. Abaro Pizarro, Sisas Bashas? Are these two going to arrest a person with ability? Originally, the Blackbeard Pirates had begun to act separately, and Marco estimates that they should be split up to capture the ability holders, and then give Blackbeard the ability to complete the final stage of the ability hunting. Give me the exact coordinates. I have nautical charts. As soon as Marco finished speaking, Bolivia on the side took over, her long black hair gently flowing, and a pair of cute big eyes looked at Marco and said, this is when she took advantage of Marco's battle, ran all over the island, and finally purchased the most complete nautical chart. A huge nautical chart. There are not too many islands on it, but there are key islands, after all. The new world is so vast, almost no one can draw all the islands, many uninhabited desert islands. There are various natural disasters, or thunder and lightning, or fire, or volcanic eruptions, or giant beasts, and there are many mysterious islands and races. This candy-shaped island is the island of Stansel. In the nautical chart, there is an island shaped like a candy, which is Marco's first goal. It didn't take long. Marco set sail. On the Happy Street Islands, he bought several technical slaves, a few who could sail, a few helmsmen, a few who were responsible for the cleaning and sanitation of pirate ships, etc. Well, it's all women. They all look good. There is no doubt about this. The beautiful woman is on the boat. The work is pleasant and comfortable to look at. The point is, there is no need for Marco to pay at all, and all the Bailey is Stucci's initiative. As for why slaves? Reliable, rest assured. The bright sunshine is cast down, and the sea is sparkling golden. Several seagulls chirped and glided away from the surface, leaving sparkling ripples wherever they flew. This is the new world, the great waterway, a certain sea. Above the blue sea, a pirate ship is sailing at full speed. The armed color domineering has once again been improved to a certain extent. In the spacious room, Marco showed joy. During this time of sailing, he summarized all his abilities. His own undead bird ability made him talented, coupled with the auxiliary mechanism of the super assistance system. During this time, almost all of Marco's own abilities have been improved to a certain extent. Boom boom. At this time, on the side of the pirate ship, a pirate ship with a strange shape like a steam locomotive appeared. Without any words to convey, the pirate ship with steam on the side was directly aimed at Marco's pirate ship, and bombarded. Is there an enemy attack? Marco came out of the cabin just in time to see shells pouring down like a rain. Facing countless shells, he shrugged his shoulders and signaled the slave girls on the ship to be a little restless. There are really a lot of this new world. Rampant pirates. Crash. Behind Marco, a pair of huge flame wings up to 20 meters long appeared, and the pair of blue flame wings with red flames unfolded in vain, and the huge flame wings suddenly opened, and the gushing flames soared into the sky, and the rain of countless cannonballs that roared was instantly swept away by the flames. This cannonball, which roared like a sudden rain, was swept away by the flames, and did not even stir up a ripple, and was directly annihilated in the flames. Wow. Lord Marco is so handsome. That flame is shaped like a divine bird. It's amazing. The petite slave girls on the ship, who were originally frightened, jumped excitedly one by one at Marco, who fluttered his wings and flew. The other side, above the steam pirate ship. Are you tired of living? Suspended in midair, Marco looked down at the strangely shaped steamship below, and he couldn't help but take a look at this strange pirate ship, which not only looked strange like a steam locomotive, but even the pirate flag was so strange, and the flag was a naval emblem with a big fork. It seems that the captain of this pirate group and the navy. There is a leg. Episode 32. A divine bird. A divine bird that can control flames. On the deck, a group of pirates stared blankly into the air, and exclamations continued to sound. This is a fantasy for their group of pirates who came out of a small corner. What a divine bird is not a divine bird. In front of Lao Tzu, Mao was completely plucked for him. A burly man in a navy coat shouted with disdain. "The captain is mighty." A group of pirates immediately screamed. "Nides, what's the origin of that guy above? Dare to run to Lao Tzu's head." Captain Gaspardi, wearing a navy coat, shouted with dissatisfaction on his face. Someone was playing handsome on his head, which made him quite unhappy. "Do you know that Lao Tzu is a superhuman devil fruit ability? Let him come down and fight with Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu can make him understand what pain is." This steamship is called Sharoman Snake. Gaspardi is the captain of this pirate group. The strength is good. The reward amount is nearly 100 million. From the island of Hannibal, superhuman devil fruit ability, in that sea area, definitely belongs to the powerful and popular sea thief. "Captain, I'll tell him to come down." His close subordinate Nides immediately stepped forward, walked to the front of the deck, tilted his head, and looked at Marco. "Hey. Flame bird above, our captain told you to come down and fight." "Oh?" Marco looked down and said lightly, "I'm not interested." "Not interested?" Nides was stunned. "You may not know, our captain's temper is hot. If you don't come down, the captain can't fight with you. And if you can't fight with you, the captain will lose his temper. Get out." Encountered a gang of funny pirates again, Marco was much more lazy to explain, casually raised his hand, and punched out. Rumble. A huge flame fist, from midair, instantly roared down, facing the ever-increasing flame fist. Neds below did not even react, was enveloped by the huge flame fist. Not only that, the huge flame fist, but also directly bombarded Gaspardi. Nides, seeing that his subordinates died instantly, and even the bones no longer existed, Gaspardi's whole person roared angrily, facing the huge flame fist that roared, and a punch burst out. His fist continued to grow like rubber, facing Marco's flaming fist. Superman soft candy real ability. Rumble. The two forces collided violently together, and in just one shot, Gaspardi's instant defeat, his fist, which became larger with the ability of soft candy, was instantly shattered. At this moment, his eyes widened, and his eyes were full of incredulity. Lao Tzu offered a reward of nearly 100 million sea thieves, but he couldn't bear his punch. This kick to the iron. Gaspardi only had time to think so, and then his whole person was blasted away, and the flames continued to erode him in the upside down. "Captain, I know who he is. He is the super sea thief who offered a bounty of 1.555 million Bailey on the latest bounty order." Undead bird Marco. Gaspardi, whose body was constantly shattering and the whole person was constantly flying upside down, heard a nervous report from a subordinate. He glanced back along the sound, and just saw a subordinate running out of the cabin in a panic, holding a bounty order above his head with both hands, and on the bounty order, a pirate with blue flame wings spread and looking back in midair, was drawn impressively. Undead bird Marco. Before Gaspardi's body was completely shattered, he showed a look of complete despair. Rumble. The huge flaming fist finally blasted the steam pirate ship in half. Gaspardi and Neds died first, and the rest of the pirates also fell into the sea in unison. Marco's wings shook, swiped down, reached out, and a bounty order appeared in his hand. He flew back to his pirate ship, spread out the bounty order, and on it was written the various evil events defined by the Navy headquarters about Marco. Super evil sea thief undead bird Marco. The photo on the bounty order shows himself waving his flaming wings and looking back in midair. Has Lord Marco been rewarded? Several female slaves ran over with small broken steps, one by one excitedly said, in their eyes, being rewarded is the glory of pirates. The higher the reward amount, the greater the glory. After they were bought by Marco, from the initial fear, to now mixed and familiar, they found that Marco was very easy to get along with and let go. How much is the reward? Yes, let's see. How much reward Lord Marco? For this group of curious slave girls, Marco spread his hands and handed over the bounty. Several female slaves immediately picked up the bounty order as if they had received the greatest treasure, and counted them one by one. 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 100,000, million, billion. A billion. The amount of the bounty, 1.555 billion Bailey? When they fiddled with their fingers and counted the huge amount of the bounty, all the female slaves were stunned on the spot. They covered their small mouths one by one, and their eyes were extremely surprised, and for a while, they were all dumbfounded. Episode 33. I slaughtered 3 vice admirals, killed 1 or 2,000 elite sailors, and offered a reward of 1.5 billion. Marco himself was surprised that he was offered a reward of up to 1,555 million Bailey. Could it be that the Navy became rich in the short time that Akainu took over? Can the bounty be so willful and rich? Actually, Marco was not just as simple as killing 2 veteran vice admirals of the Navy headquarters, plus a branch base commander, and thousands of elite sailors. Participate in the top war, the captain of the Whitebearded pirate group who retreated. Marco, who has always been quiet and low-key, suddenly became irritable, which made the naval headquarters and the world government feel a sense of uneasiness after letting the world government know. Similarly, Marco's actions not only made the Navy headquarters feel uneasy, but also passed into the ears of more pirate groups, especially when the bounty order came out. I don't know how many pirate groups were shocked. Undead bird Marco. He finally couldn't help but start killing. Such news began to spread wildly above the Wangyang Sea of this great waterway, attracting the attention of unknown pirates, setting off waves and causing unknown waves and vibrations. New World, some unknown island. On this small island shaped like a winding centipede, a pirate wearing a cape, so burly that he could not sit down on a large chair, was looking down at the bounty order in his hand in surprise. Marco. It's great to be safe and sound. If anyone sees the face of this pirate clearly, they will be surprised. The leader of the third team of the Whitebeard Pirates, Diamond George. Unlike before, Diamond George's humble face had 2 more hideous scars. Marco. It's okay if it's okay. He touched the 2 dull scars on his cheek, and his teeth creaked. You know, Shilio, these 2 scars, I have to return them sooner or later. Not only did he have 2 more scars on his face, but above his muscular burly body, there were hideous and terrifying scars everywhere. The most. It's a sword wound. The sword of Kiru, Blackbeard Pirates. Before slaughtering you to avenge your daddy, we Whitebeard Pirates. It will never perish. North Sea, no wind belt, some treacherous island. A big sword hero with a smile on his face was looking at a bounty order and smirked. Marco. It looks good, it's so good. Someday, we'll be able to meet again, will we? In this world, there are no eternal difficulties, all sufferings are only temporary. Behind him, lay 2 vicious behemoth corpses, each with a sword stuck in their heads. This kind man with a smile on his face is the Erdalia Great Sword Hero. Captain of the 5th team of the Whitebeard Pirates. Foil Bista. The same thing happened to the islands of the New World or other seas, which, without exception, are almost all a deserted or barren island. New World, on the edge of the Great Passage, on an unusually barren island. Sister Bay, I just received a huge bounty. This guy seems to be worth our attention. Do you want to report to Boss Long? A man in ordinary clothes, but with a military demeanor, said respectfully to a proud woman in front of him. I'll take a look. The beautiful woman with a lady's cigarette, sunglasses, and a magnificent appearance grabbed the bounty order indiscriminately, and just saw the bounty amount and the photo of the person above, and the cigarette in her mouth fell to the ground. Sister Bay would be so surprised. Several subordinates on the side saw Sister Bay's performance like this. One by one, they showed a look of surprise in their eyes. The strong and generous Sister Bay would never be so surprised by anything. Undead Bird Marco, the reward is 1.555 billion Bailey. Several subordinates couldn't help muttering again. Syllable. Sister Bay, who took off her sunglasses, slapped her subordinates on the head. The old lady is not surprised by these boring things. Her gaze fell on the picture of Marco's fluttering wings. In the corner of the photo, you can vaguely see a girl with big cute eyes, tilting her head and looking at Marco with adoration. This girl's film. It must have been a loss of mind. Sister Bay, Bello Betty. New World. For Emperors, Big Mom Pirate Base, Wangwa, Chocolate Town. The latest bounty order is out. Marco offers a bounty of 155 million Baileys. Several sons and daughters of the Charlotte family gathered together and were watching Marco's bounty. It turned out to be 500 million higher than the reward offered by brother Katakuri. It's really unpleasant. What else would that guy do, besides flying? Is the regeneration inflammation of the undead bird? It can only be used to escape for your life. Compared with his good brother, he is far behind. I just hope that brother Katakuri will come back soon. If he can kill this guy Marco with his own hands, it will make me feel a lot cooler. Episode 34. There is one more after April 4th. The bounty order is a real headache. Marco shook his head. He wanted to act low-key, slaughter most of the members of the Blackbeard pirate group, sharply reduce the enemy's strength at the same time, but also improve his own strength, and finally fight with Blackbeard, and then slaughter him. Who knows? This damned red dog actually gave himself a new bounty order so quickly, a huge reward as much as 1.5 billion. As soon as this bounty order is released, I am afraid it will attract the attention of many people. A bounty of 1555 million Bailey. I'm afraid I'm going to be the first in the world. Marco couldn't help but think that this time the bounty order could not be that the red dog deliberately increased his bounty amount, and the red dog wanted to use the means of the bounty order to make himself the focus of the world again. As a result, all enemies will have the idea of get rid of Marco as soon as possible. Red Inu. I'm not going to provoke you, you play tricks on me upside down. Marco figured it out. This bounty order is a means of the red dog. He wants to borrow the hands of all the enemies of the white-bearded pirate group to get rid of himself. It seems, now the enemy has expanded. The 100 Beasts Pirates, the Big Mom Pirates, the Blackbeard Pirates, and the headquarters of the Navy led by Red Inu. All of these have become enemies. That's it. Since the old man of the red dog wants to do this, then I might as well make a calculation and save me from looking for enemies and wasting time. Marco suddenly thought. Think the other way around. Doesn't it save yourself time to find them when your enemies come to your door? I must speed up the improvement of my strength, so that even if Akainu, Kaido, Charlotte Lingling, and even Blackbeard personally find them, I cannot fear them. Marco thought so. Lord Marco, soon we will reach our destination. A slave girl came to report the situation, and since she witnessed Marco making a move against the enemy, her gaze at Marco changed from simple respect to incomparable adoration. How long will it take? Marco asked. In half a day, you can reach your destination. Well, I know. Go down, go back and tell everyone that when you arrive on the island, your mission will be completed, and then you will be free again and no longer my slaves. Marco said simply. He was not sure if the enemies of the destination this time were only the two sub-captains of the Blackbeard Pirates, In case there were other enemies, when the time came, wouldn't these female slaves drag themselves back? The easiest way is to dismiss them, and how will they survive in the future? It is not a matter for you to consider, and it is already benevolent and righteous to buy them out and liberate them. Huh? The slave girl looked dazed and surprised. She obviously did not expect that Marco would let them go like this, and in her impression, the slave owner bought them either to death or to sell them halfway. Get out. Marco waved his hand and motioned for her to go out. Thank you, Lord Marco. The slave girl hurriedly bowed down to thank her sincerely, and immediately retreated cautiously after speaking. Offboard. At this time, the sun is shining, the sea breeze is blowing, the blue sea, occasionally pirate ships sail by, causing a series of waves. From time to time there are waves rolling, sea fish jump out of the sea against the waves, a good picture of the nautical beauty. The world knows that under this seemingly calm sea, there are countless dangers hidden, and they may be buried in this great channel at any time. Stancelt Island. Knox. On a street on the island, someone looked at a sea thief who appeared in front of him and involuntarily exclaimed. For a time, it attracted the attention of many pirates. It's really Knox. A bounty of 500 million men. How did he end up on this island? Did you single-handedly destroy the sea thief Knox of more than a dozen naval warships? According to rumors, he is not only physically strong, but also a superhuman devil fruit ability. Everyone's surprised eyes all fell on a strong man with a naked upper body. This strong man was as muscular as a dragon, and his body was as high as 5 or 6 meters high, unusually burly and tall. Your Knox? At this time, two people came over, one with horns on his head and thick blue hair, the other with exaggerated upper body development, but the lower body was strangely short, and one long purple hair was scattered behind his head. The two faced the sea thief Knox with a reward of 500 million and blocked the latter's way. Oh, does anyone want me to take the head to receive the world government's bullshit bounty? Knox, who was stopped by two pirates of unknown origin, was not afraid. He opened his mouth to laugh, and his laughter exploded like thunder. 2. I advise you. Lao Tzu can kill. Rumble. As soon as the words fell, Knox suddenly attacked. His huge and strong body, like a fierce beast, rampaged towards Abaro Pizarro, and the moment he moved, the entire ground couldn't help but shake violently. A man worthy of a reward of 500 million, really fierce. Before the words are finished, they will kill. What a terrifying power. Many pirates on the street retreated in unison, looking at the battlefield one by one, and couldn't help but exclaim. But, the next moment, just for a moment, everyone was dumbfounded. They saw the fierce and domineering Knox rampage over, was bombarded by the thick blue-haired Abaro Pizarro punch, boom, was bombarded by the bombarded Knox smashed one building after another. Everyone followed him and looked over, but found that Knox fell in the ruins, and couldn't even get up. I saw that on his chest, a blood hole seemed to have been drilled out by a huge drill, and blood was gushing out frantically. Shoo! Everyone gasped, one after another. The sea thief with a bounty of 500 million, Knox. Seconds up. At this time, everyone noticed how terrifying Abaro Pizarro's hands like drills were. Sis as Bosch's grinned, Behahaha, you killed him with one punch, right? I can't die. I only used less than half of my force. Abaro Pizarro shook his full blue hair and said lazily, the rest, I'll leave it to you. Drag him away, that's fair. Why ha 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 ha. Sis's Bosch's still let out a unique laugh, as if he always loved to laugh. He walked over and grabbed Knox, who had lost his combat effectiveness, and dragged him casually like a hunter dragging a prey. The pirates in the distance, one by one, turned blue with fright, and quickly retreated. He casually said to Abaro Pizarro in front of him, I heard the latest news about Marco. I have seen the bounty order, and the remaining dead bird has been rewarded with a reward of 1.5 billion. Abaro Pizarro said dissatisfiedly, at the beginning, the captain gave up hunting them in order to hunt for those with faster hunting ability, but I didn't expect that in just 1 month, the seriously injured and escaped Marco dared to show his face. It's a bounty of 1.555 billion. Zishif Bosch's dragged the sea thief with a bounty of 500 million. As casually as dragging a dead dog, he laughed and said, after all, it is a phantom beast species undead bird ability. It is reasonable to be able to recover from serious injuries. Wahahaha. I really long for one day to deprive him of his ability. That's a phantom beast ability that is rarer than the natural system. Even Abaro Pizarro, a death row inmate who came out of the 6th floor of the deep sea prison, couldn't help but show his enthusiasm when he heard the words depriving the undead bird of its ability. You guys. I'm afraid there won't be such an opportunity. At this moment, a flat voice with murderous intent sounded, because you cannot get out of here alive. Episode 35. 5 more evaluation votes. With a hideous horn above his head, Abaro Pizarro tilted his head sideways and looked in the direction of the voice, and like him, Bosch's looked to that side. Meanwhile, on the streets of the island, all the pirates looked at the same place almost at the same time. They wanted to know who dared to say such a thing. After all, the two of Abaro Pizarro and Bosch's in front of them just shot out with just one shot, and killed the sea thief with a bounty of 500 million in a second. And at this time, someone actually stood up and blocked the path of these two fierce and violent people. Undead birds. Marco? Someone recognized the person who recognized it. It was the super popular person on the latest bounty order, The bounty amount of up to 1.555 billion Bailey, the undead bird Marco. This guy's eyes widened, and he immediately exclaimed, "What? He is undead bird Marco? A super topic figure with a bounty of up to 1,555 million Bailey? Oh my god. It actually made me see real people. This is the object of my worship. The bounty is 1.555 billion, and men want to have such glory." He was the former captain of the first team of the Whitebeard Pirates. Animal system, phantom beast species, undead bird fruit ability, no wonder. He dared to stand alone and block the path of these two fierce lords. The exclamations of the crowd continued to sound. Undead bird Marco, whether he was once the captain of the first team of the Whitebeard Pirates, or his huge bounty of up to 1.555 billion Bailey, it is enough for everyone to look up to. I remembered those two. It is the sub-captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, Abaro Pizarro and Cisses Boschas, who appeared in the war on the top. The knowledgeable pirate suddenly exclaimed, and he recognized the other two fierce lords. It turned out to be a sub-captain under the four emperors Blackbeard Pirates. Many people gasped for air. At this time, they all understood why the sea thief, who was offering a reward of up to 500 million Bailey, fell to the ground under the attack of the two fierce lords in front of them. It turned out that these two people, the most dangerous and fierce new four emperors from the New World, the Blackbeard Pirates. They know that here, I'm afraid a shocking war will break out. In the eyes of everyone, the Whitebeard Pirates and the Blackbeard Pirates are mortal enemies. Moreover, after Whitebeard's death, the Blackbeard Pirates continued to hunt down the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates led by Marco, and finally even the news came out. Marco was seriously injured and fled, and the rest of the remaining members of the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates also disappeared. Some people are rumored that the remnants of the Whitebeard Pirate group suffered heavy losses, and many captains were taken away by the Blackbeard Pirate group. And in front of you, Marco showed up here, obviously. It's for revenge on the Blackbeard Pirates. It's here to kill. This is definitely a vicious battle. Great terror battle. It is also my luck to be able to witness a battle of this level. Stay away. Beware of being caught in the fish pond. Everyone couldn't help but withdraw from the streets here, and they jumped on the high ground or tall buildings in the distance one by one, watching the battle from a distance. In sharp contrast to the shocked expressions of everyone, Abaro Pizarro and Cisses Boschas looked at each other and smiled when they saw Marco. Lao Tzu thought who was coming. Dare to be so arrogant in front of Lao Tzu. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a surviving Marco. Delivered to your door. Abaro Pizarro looked vicious. This sea thief, who was once imprisoned on the 6th floor of the deep-sea prison in the advancing city, since following Blackbeard out to sea, has once again shown his terrifying and brutal methods, and countless pirates have been slaughtered. You know, the pirates imprisoned in the 6th layer of the advancing city are all sea pirates like the Golden Lion Shurji and the Red Earl who once drove alongside the One Piece King Roger. At least they are similar to Doflamingo, Ace, and other powerful kings Kawaii. In front of him, this Abaro Pizarro, who has a pair of horn-like horns, full of blue hair, and a fierce face, is not very strong. What's more, as soon as this guy made a move, he killed a pirate with a bounty of up to 500 million in seconds. Way ha 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 ha. Cisses Boschas was still full of smiles, like an optimistic family heir, and his well-developed upper body was agitated like a dragon with his muscles as he laughed. He glanced at Abaro Pizarro in front of him and licked his lips. Abaro Pizarro, you strike first, I drag the prey. This time, change me to strike first, you will drag the prey. Such. It's fair. His gaze finally fell on Marco, and he grinned. If you can take away the undead bird fruit ability. That's the champion. Is there enough ink? Marco's eyelids lifted, his eyes with blue flames beating, glanced at Cisses Boschas, whose upper and lower bodies were extremely incongruous, and said calmly and with murderous intent, you. Not qualified enough to be arrogant in front of me. Rumble. At this time, Cisses Boschas took the lead in attacking, his fierce and domineering body, rushing towards Marco. Violent and domineering power burst out. For a time, the entire street shook violently, and even the surrounding buildings began to shake. What a domineering and fierce force this is. Airplanes. The strong armed color domineering energy instantly covered the entire burly upper body of Cisses Boschas, and the pair of terrifying fists directly blasted out, and the sound of breaking the wind instantly burst out. And the speed of his rush was extremely fast, and even a stream of white energy was generated behind him. Bellow. Marco punched, and the more powerful armed color domineering instantly covered his fist, but it was such a seemingly simple punch, and at the moment of the punch, the air seemed to be pierced. Almost in the blink of an eye, the fists of the two slammed together. Rumble. The deafening popping sound was produced by the collision of two extremely strong forces, and a white cyclone that danced like a long snake erupted out. And the surrounding trees and walls shattered at the moment of being affected, the dust in the sky stirred, and countless rubble splashed. Cisses Boschas, in the battle, at the moment of the confrontation with Marco, his heart was suddenly shocked, and his eyes burst out with a terrifying light. Periphery, everyone stared at the battlefield intently, for fear of missing a link. At the moment when the smoke and dust burst out, a picture that shocked everyone happened. I saw Cisses Boschas, who rushed fiercely and domineeringly, and the whole person suddenly flew out of the sky from the smoke, and the blood flew upside down with him, leaving a red trajectory in midair. 5th, thank you for your support during this time. I hope you can follow up on reading as much as possible. I am afraid that if you raise it, you will forget my existence. Episode 36. Almost everyone froze. They stood in the distance, looking at Zishith Basses, who streaked a blood-colored trajectory in midair and flew out rapidly. No one would have thought that this vicious pirate at the level of the sub-captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, who was originally fierce and domineering, took the initiative to charge, but was finally knocked away by Marco Jane's simple punch. It's still the kind of punch that is seriously injured and sprays blood. Impossible, impossible. Sis's Bashes, who kept flying upside down, was terrified in his heart. His eyes were round, his pupils were full of horror and incredulity. He couldn't believe that Marco would be so powerful. I fought Marco before. He couldn't believe even more that the gap between himself and Marco was so huge, that it was so different. He remembered that he was still confident and took the initiative to choose to face Marco, and vowed to go to the sea with Aburo Pizarro, and Marco hunted by himself. Sis's Bashes felt a great irony. These horrifying thoughts flashed through Sis's Bashes' mind only instantly. Thundered. Sis's Bashes, who flew out upside down, crashed straight through a tall building on the street, and in the sky full of smoke and dust, his entire body rubbed the ground and slipped out, dragging out a long stream of billowing smoke, and finally crashed into a thick wall made of boulders, and the whole person was imprinted into this marble wall. Can't move. Blood continued to spurt out of Sis's Bashes' mouth, and a sound came out of his mouth, and there was an incomparably frightened color flowing in his eyes, and a desperate color was born under his eyes. He has slurred. When everyone saw this shocking scene, they all understood. Sis's Bashes is afraid. It's not long in life. Shosho, where Marco was, in the sky full of smoke, suddenly flew out one by one vivid blue flame birds, flying around Marco. After these firebirds appeared, the smoke and dust in the sky were invisibly swept away. Marco appeared in everyone's sight. The blue flame bird flew around, dazzling his body. Not even a trace of ash has been stained. It seems so relaxed. One punch. Someone exclaimed in a low voice. Just one punch killed Sis's Bashes. That is the most ferocious, violent and evil Blackbeard pirate branch captain, unexpectedly killed by one punch. The hearts of everyone were shocked, and the miserable picture of Sis's Bashes lingered. The blood-colored trail left in midair when flying upside down exuded a pungent smell of blood. In sharp contrast, Marco's calm appearance of light wind and clouds and dusty clothes is even more shocking and shocking. Is this the true strength of the undead bird Marco? Some people can't believe that what they see is true. Marco is too strong. So strong that he can't accept this shocking picture in a short time, and that's just by physical skills, has already killed a sub-captain of the Blackbeard Pirates with one punch. Exclamations continued to sound, and many people were extremely shocked. Undead bird Marco, the terrifying existence of a bounty of 1.555 million Bailey. The former captain of the Whitebeard pirate group is really strong. Finally had the privilege of witnessing his battle firsthand. That punch really made people's blood boil. Someone looked at Marco, who was light and calm over there with great admiration, and said so excitedly, Sis's Bashes. Defeated like that? Aburo Pizarro was also stunned for a moment, looking at Bashes, who was blasted into the distance and imprinted into the wall. He couldn't help but show a solemn look in his eyes, but he clearly knew that the strength of this extremely uncoordinated fighting champion with his upper and lower bodies was, but he was killed by a punch. At this time Aburo Pizarro had to become extremely serious. Squeak. In midair, there were a few birds flying over from a distance, originally wanting to stay here to rest for a while. But before they fell, they seemed to feel a strong sense of oppression, hurriedly chirped a few times, and flew away without turning their heads. Streaming down, not far away, the bombarded buildings continued to fall down rubble, smoke and dust filled the streets, the pungent smell of blood continued to drift, and the battlefield was surrounded by gun smoke. It's your turn. He's dead. Marco looked at Aburo Pizarro, who had thick blue hair, and his calm gaze revealed an awe-inspiring murderous intent. Didn't you long for my devil fruit ability before? Right now. Still want it? Naturally. Aburo Pizarro kicked away X-Nox, who knocked out the previous punch. He was once a generation of notorious evil people above the Wangyang Sea in this new world, his huge diamond-like fists, and countless sea thieves who have exploded. Even after being imprisoned and advancing to the 6th layer of the city's infinite hell, following Blackbeard back out of the sea, his strength has not weakened by half a point. Otherwise, he would not have been chosen by Blackbeard. After a brief moment of surprise, Aburo Pizarro no longer paid attention to the dying Bashes, but looked at Marco feverishly. Immortal bird fruit ability. It's really powerful. It can allow you to not only heal your injuries in such a short period of time, but also improve your strength. What an unexpected surprise. Rumble. The voice just fell. The fierce Aburo Pizarro immediately rushed towards Marco, and the terrifying roar exploded with it, reverberating between heaven and earth. Since you are so eager to get the undead bird ability. Next, please enjoy the fruit of the undead bird to your heart's content. despair, facing the onslaught of Aburo Pizarro, Marco in peace, full of murderous opportunities. Rumble. The raging flames instantly swept out like earth-shattering waves, and for a while, between heaven and earth, it seemed that only the blue flames that covered the sky and the undead bird Marco, who rules it all. Episode 37. Airplanes. The powerful armed domineering energy instantly covered Aburo Pizarro's fists like huge iron diamonds, and the moment the terrifying fist burst out, a sharp and piercing sound burst out. He was extremely powerful, not afraid of the flames that swept in, and he was fierce and violent in the flames and rushed out of a path and killed. Roar. The violent and ferocious power produced bursts of roaring sounds, reverberating between heaven and earth, making people feel terrified. Boom. In the flames, Marco and Aburo Pizarro instantly fought together. The moment their fists collided, the deafening sound resounded over the island, and countless violent cyclones erupted and rolled upside down all around. Prey should have the appearance of prey. Aburo Pizarro swung his body and punched Marco's head. Marco tilted his head, and a powerful fist grazed his hair. At the same time, one of his hands leaned out sideways, and the blue flame danced in the palm, grabbing Aburo Pizarro's punching wrist, and the other hand instantly pinched his fist, bang, and hit Aburo Pizarro's face. Rumble. Aburo Pizarro was punched backwards repeatedly, marking a smoke and dust trajectory above the formation. After fixing, he shook his head vigorously. Marco's punch hit him embarrassed, leaving a deep fist mark on his face. Who is the hunter and who is the prey? Marco punched and did not stop. His body leaned forward, turned into a violent wind, and rushed towards Aburo Pizarro, and the sky behind him was full of flames. Roll with a roar. Lao Tzu wants to beat you into a hornet's nest. Aburo Pizarro's roar reverberates the island. He roared, his body made a crackling sound, and a powerful force erupted from his feet. In vain. Rumble. He greeted Marco, who rushed to kill and punched out a tyrannical punch. Aburo Pizarro's fist, in vain when he was close to Marco. The arm like an iron drill actually rotated violently at high speed, as if it had endless power, constantly pouring into the fist, making his fist surrounded by armed color domineering become extremely terrifying. Click. It was such a terrifying punch, but it was grabbed by Marco with one hand. Aburo Pizarro's terrifying high-speed rotation power has the power to shatter everything, and the moment he was caught by Marco, he even showed great joy. At this moment, his fist, which had the power to shatter, also rotated at high speed, threatening to shatter everything and smash Marco's palm. No matter how terrifying the shattering power of Aburo Pizarro's punch is, Marco is not afraid. The flame of regeneration continues to emerge above his palm, and Aburo Pizarro wants to smash his palm, which is tantamount to a fool's dream. All this is a long story, but in fact, it only happened in a very short time. After Marco grabbed the fist that Aburo Pizarro attacked, his other hand instantly burst out. Boom. Aburo Pizarro reacted quickly, and he also punched Marco. But, at the moment when he punched, on his grabbed arm, endless blue flames spread out in vain, and where the blue flames passed, an extremely strong freezing breath froze his arm. With a boom, the rapidly spreading blue flame was about to envelop his entire body in an instant. Aburo Pizarro didn't care about Marco's other punch. He roared, and his body erupted with a violent force in vain, and he was shattered by the freezing of half of his body. Boom. Almost at the same time, another punch from Marco landed on Aburo Pizarro's chest, and where the latter was hit, it immediately dented into a large piece, clicked, and a sound of bones shattering sounded, and an indelible fist mark appeared in Aburo Pizarro's chest. Thundered. Aburo Pizarro was instantly blasted away, and his body smashed into countless obstacles along the way with a bang, and a smoke and dust trajectory followed. Rumble. Finally, Aburo Pizarro hit a thick marble wall and came to a stop. He looked down and was horrified to find that the fist mark left by Marco on his chest was beating with a red flame. Ah! Aburo Pizarro roared in pain. The scorching flames of high temperature were burning his chest. His chest looked like filled with a bed of boiling and rolling molten iron. At the same time, at the port of this candy-shaped island, squeak, several rapid bird calls sounded. Shio. In midair, a slender sword chi like a drizzle suddenly appeared, and a group of birds instantly fluttered their wings in fear, wanting to escape from the terrifying sword chi envelope. These densely packed sword chi like a drizzle was incredibly fast, and almost at the moment when the sharp sound of breaking the wind sounded, it had penetrated these frightened birds. Annoying bird calls. Or kill the quiet. Gong. The sound of a long sword being sheathed sounded, and a pirate wearing a dark blue suit, a black prison hat, a cigar in his mouth, and a fierce face stepped onto the island with unbridled steps. What a terrifying swordsmanship. On the edge of the port, someone exclaimed in a low voice. He only saw the guy's action of drawing his sword, and he didn't even see how the guy came out of the sword, and then he felt a killing intent with numb scalp, and when he looked up, the terrifying sword energy that made a sharp sound like a drizzle had streaked through the long sky. Click click. The carcass of a flock of birds fell to the ground of the harbor. Oh my god. Someone saw the appearance of the corpse of the birds, and for a while, they screamed out of voice, and the screaming people hurriedly covered their mouths, for fear of provoking the guys who had already gone to the island and causing murder. This exclamation did not attract the attention of the person in front, but it attracted the attention of the port and other pirates, and many pirates looked over in unison, and their eyes fell on the newly fallen bird corpse on the ground. Shoo! Everyone couldn't help but gasp. An unprecedented sense of panic spread in their hearts, making them flutter. I saw, on the ground, those fallen birds were all neatly divided into corpses, and each bird's body, head, wings, bird claws, and even the bird's beak were all cut by the flat corpse of the sword chi. Neat, without exception. All the birds, every one. All of them. These pirates who usually cross the sea, looking at such a terrifying scene, can't help but feel a tingling of their scalps. This guy. What kind of monster is it? His swordsmanship. It's terrible. Episode 38. This street has been destroyed. The buildings on both sides of the street have collapsed in the battle at this moment. I don't know how much. Sloping buildings, along with the creation of ruins, are full of rolling stones. The ground, which was originally covered with stones, was already covered with densely intertwined cracks at this time, and when the billowing smoke and dust in the sky dispersed, everyone finally got their wish to see the result of the battle. When they saw Aburo Pizarro's miserable appearance, everyone was shocked. This battle is inevitably over too quickly, right? It's also the sub-captain of the Blackbeard Pirates. It was only in the hands of Marco, supporting such a short time, someone whispered, incredulously. There are many people who think the same way as him. It's not that Aburo Pizarro is weak. The sea thief with a reward of 500 million was bombarded by him and lost his combat effectiveness. This kind of person. Weak? Not weak. It's not that Aburo Pizarro is too weak, but Marco is too strong. Someone was exclaiming, and everyone couldn't help but gasp. The powerful power and powerful bombardment methods displayed by Marco completely shocked them. Look. Aburo Pizarro's chest. That's a fist print. Many people's eyes then fell on Aburo Pizarro's chest, where there was a deep fist marked blood hole in the fist print. There is a hot and boiling flame tumbling, like magma, burning the heart of Aburo Pizarro. Wow. At this moment, there was an uproar. Aburo Pizarro did not die on the spot because he had strong vitality and strong physical body. Yes, the boiling burning is constantly destroying his heart. Now. Do you still want my undead bird ability? Marco's voice sounded. The raging flames around him were all rolled upside down at this moment, and a pair of huge flame wings more than 20 meters long appeared behind him, and with a bang, he flew into the air and looked down at Aburo Pizarro not far below. It was exactly what Marco had expected. These people of the Blackbeard Pirates have been thinking about hunting his undead bird ability, and have always wanted to kill him. It's just that because the previous place was too barren, that sea area was extremely dangerous, and it took a lot of time to find him, so I chose to hunt for other abilities for the time being. I'm afraid that even Blackbeard himself never expected that Marco would choose to take the initiative to take action against the people of their Blackbeard Pirates. Hunt, or being hunted? Marco chose to take the initiative and hunt the people of the Blackbeard Pirates. In this life, he will definitely not put his fate, his life and death, into the hands of others. All those who want him to die, there is only one result, and that is Marco killed. Aburo Pizarro and Sis's Boschas are just the beginning. Blackbeard Pirates, the beginning of death. Sis's Boschas in the distance had already died completely, and his big eyes that were bulging were full of horror and shock before he died. He was killed by a punch. Crash. Aburo Pizarro, who was blasted into the thick wall, endured the severe pain and broke free. He covered the fist mark wound that constantly burned his internal organs with one hand, and the fierce face became hideously twisted because of the intense pain. He raised his head with a vicious gaze, looking up at Marco in midair. Undead bird Marco, you are indeed strong, stronger than me and him. Ahem. Aburo Pizarro coughed violently. A mouthful of blood was coughed out, and the wound where he pressed his fist mark with his hand also gushed out. The intense pain made Aburo Pizarro roar with all his might, and his roar was deafening and spread throughout the island. Not far away, a murderer wearing a pilot's hat, wearing a dark blue prison officer uniform, and holding a cigar heard this roar. His brows twisted, he raised his head, looked at the sky, and just saw Marco flying in midair not far away, spreading a pair of flaming wings up to 20 meters long. In his fierce eyes, a strong murderous intent emerged. Undead bird Marco? This person. It was according to the advance agreement that the Rain no Hiru, who came from the nearby sea and joined Aburo Pizarro and Sis's Bassas. Rumble. Shilio's figure was in vain, leaving a residual image in the air, and in just a few moments, he appeared on this street that had been destroyed by the battle. Marco was the first to look down, and his gaze fell on the comber. Whoosh. Many pirates in the distance have their eyes on the comber, and at this time, those who dare to enter the battle street so blatantly. It will definitely attract everyone's attention. That guy. Who is it? Look at his fierce and brutal face, he is definitely a murderer again. While everyone was shouting in amazement, Aburo Pizarro, who was seriously injured and dying, also raised his head and looked at the person coming in front of him. His eyes burst out with a light of hope. Rain no Shirlu. You're finally here. Wow. When many pirates in the distance heard the 4 words Rain no Kiryu, they were instantly in an uproar. Rain no Kiru, captain of the Blackbeard Pirates 2 ship. the former warden of the deep-sea prison advancing city of Imper. It is precisely because of the existence of him and Magellan that the Impel prison will be called the Copper Wall and Iron Wall. This person is extremely murderous and addicted to killing. After following Blackbeard, there are countless sea pirates killed by Shiru. Not only that, he has a thirst for killing regardless of strength and weakness. Anyone, as long as he wants to kill, whether it is a powerful captain-level pirate, or an ordinary person without the strength of a chicken, he will kill them all, leaving no living mouth. Just a few days ago, there were rumors that a large town had been slaughtered. The murderer, exactly. Rain no Hiryu. Kill him. The hideous-faced Aburo Pizarro pointed at Marco viciously and said, he knew that the strength of Rain no Shirlu was far above him. Is this your last reliance? Marco's face suddenly bloomed with a smile, and in the smile, full of killing intent, rumble. Without any hesitation, Marco made an instant move, and the whole person swooped down sharply, almost in the blink of an eye. He had already rushed to the top of Aburo Pizarro's head. You can die, you can't kill him. Almost at the same time that Marco made a move, Shiru also made a move, and the moment his voice sounded in Marco's ears, the figure had already attacked, the demon knife with blood light flowing. Kill it. Rain Shiryu is very fast, whether it is the speed of his body or the speed of the demon knife in his hand, it is so fast that ordinary people cannot see clearly, and even leaves a series of red demonic afterimages on the ground. Yes, Marco is faster, the one he wants to kill. There will be absolutely no chance of survival. Boom. As soon as the voices of the two sounded, that Aburo Pizarro had been instantly killed by Marco with the momentum of thunder, swooping down. Aburo Pizarro's whole person burst instantly, and for a time, the sky was full of blood. No one will keep the people I want to kill, even if Blackbeard himself comes. No exception. Go out at noon, don't come back until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. This episode was written for 2 hours. My mother. 2,300 words sent. 8 o'clock. Go to dinner. Everyone did not vote for the flower evaluation vote. Hurry up and vote for me. One more before bed. Episode 39. In an instant, flesh and blood flew all over the sky, and terrifying blood rained down. Shoo! Such a terrifying worldly picture shook everyone who saw the scene. Everyone involuntarily gasped. This kind of numbing picture of the scalp, many people cannot even accept. Of course, there are many fanatical pirates boiling and cheering. This kind of picture that can stimulate people's desire to fight in their hearts, so that the fanatical pirates feel a burst of blood boiling, and there is hot blood rolling in their chests. It's so exciting. This is the thrill of battle, brought by strong strength. It's so invigorating that I can see my blood burning. Undead bird Marco. Whoever I want to kill, no one can save him. Some of the pirates were excited when they saw it, and they looked at Marco, who waved his wings, attacked and killed, and violently blasted Aburo Pizarro directly, showing fanatical adoration one by one. Aburo Pizarro, who originally punched a bloody fist mark in Marco's chest, was already dying, and in his body, there was a burning flame raging and destroying his internal organs and body tissues, until Marco swung his flaming wings and dived to kill, with the momentum of thunder, bombarded and fell from the outside, and the two forces inside and outside his body broke out at the same time, and at that moment, it directly exploded Aburo Pizarro's body. That's the horror scene of flesh and blood splattering in the sky. All this is a long story, but it only happened in a very short period of time. At the same time that Marco smashed Aburo Pizarro, the demon knife in Shiryo's hand that flowed with a red and blood-colored light had already been cut out, and along with this monster knife, there was also a slender slash as dense as rain. The demon knife slashed directly at Marco's arm, and the dense rain of sword slashes enveloped Marco's whole body. At this moment, all the pirates held their breath, a pair of eyes staring at the place of the battle, one by one looking at the center of the battlefield with an extremely nervous expression. Hoo-hoo. Even among the crowd of onlookers of pirates, you can hear each other's undulating nervous breathing. Rain no Kiryu, the captain of the second ship of the Blackbeard Pirates, is powerful, loves to kill, and once killed the famous sea thief in the New World, feared by the world, especially that weird demon knife. A demon knife, with blood flowing. It is something that everyone is afraid of. In order to kill Aburo Pizarro, Marco didn't even defend against the slash of Hiryu of Rain. What exactly will be the result? That's Rain no Shiru. Once the strongest warden of the great deep-sea prison. Now it is even more completely liberated to kill, and the strength has skyrocketed. How terrifying is this kind of close slashing of characters? Just looking. They all felt that the weird blood-light demon knife was too frightening, making people's scalps numb. Such a terrifying thought rose in the hearts of countless people. It's too late to say. At the same time that the slash of the Rain no Shirlu slashed into Marco's body, accompanied by a roar, extremely deep blue flames suddenly burst out from every part of Marco's body. Rain no Shiryo's demon knife and Grey Mountain blood blade slashed in an instant. With a stabbing sound, Marco's arm was cut through a hole that hurt the bone. However, something unexpected happened to Shiryo. Marco's wound that was cut so that he could see the white bone did not shed even half a drop of blood like the others, but ignited a deep blue flame at the cut wound. This deep blue flame is constantly beating, like a living thing. Poof. Immediately followed by the demon's sword, there was a rain of sword slashes. These slashes all penetrated the dark blue flames on Marco's body, and for a while, the dark blue flames could be seen, and they were pierced through one gap after another. Yes, what surprised Shiru even more was that Marco's body surrounded by dark blue flames, where it was pierced, the dense gaps appeared, just like the body elementalization of the natural fruit ability. The dark blue flames with Nyx, as if there was no damage, were beating directly close, and Marco's arm wound that was cut open by the demon knife gray mountain blood blade. After the dark blue flames, it grew bleeding flesh at a speed visible to the naked eye, almost between a few breaths. The wound that was originally deep in white bone unexpectedly healed, completely healed, Yujishi stayed at this moment, and his heart was suddenly shocked. Yes, Marco won't give him any time to be surprised. Rumble. At this moment, Marco popped out a terrifying punch, and the strong armed color domineering energy covered his fist, and the destructive power was greatly increased instantly. With a bang, the moment the sound of breaking the sky sounded, this punch fell directly on the head of Xilio. Blah boom. Shilio was blasted away by a punch, constantly rolling on the ground, bringing up billowing smoke and dust, and finally banging, crashing into a tall building, booming. The tall building that was knocked through, emitting a boom, rubble rolled down, and smoke filled the air. Hula. The dark blue flame on Marco's body was completely submerged into his body, and his body. There was no wound left at all. Wow. Until this moment, the many pirates who were watching the battle extremely nervously were completely in an uproar, and they looked at Marco in shock, and the scene before was played back in the pirates' minds. When the rain Shinoria demon knife slashed, the amazing wound that appeared on Marco's entire arm could be seen as white bone, and flesh and blood actually grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. There are also the gaps that appear on Marco's body, the dark blue constantly beating flame, unexpectedly like the natural fruit ability, all the gaps, completely healed. Even if everyone understood that it was not the natural fruit ability, but Marco had transformed all parts of his body that was about to be slashed through into blue flames in a very short period of time, so that he could completely ignore the dense slash like a rain of swords. Yes, that kind of shocking picture. It is still roaring in everyone's minds, shocking, and unable to calm down for a long time. Many pirates who really saw the ability of the undead bird fruit for the first time were all stunned at this moment. Is it the ability of the undead bird? Episode 40. Almost all the people who witnessed the undead ability of the undead bird ability were shocked one by one. The blue regeneration flame deeply stimulates everyone's vision. Like a visual feast, the blue flame beats. Marco's body is undergoing nirvana regeneration, even if it is a terrifying evil person like Shilio. With the strange demon knife flowing by blood, slashing at close range, it is still ineffective. It's incredible. That blue flame. Is it really immortal? Someone exclaimed with dementia. I have to marvel. The animal system and phantom beast ability are rarer than the natural ability person, and Marco participated in the battle. There are even few, except for the top war, which is only played through the projection phone worm. Almost no one has witnessed the undead bird ability. Almost everyone present was the first time to really see the undead bird's ability displayed so closely, and the visual impact evolved into an inner storm, shaking everyone fiercely, making them unable to calm down for a long time. The streets that were once again destroyed by the smoke and dust in the sky were already unrecognizable at this time, with rolling rubble and ruins everywhere, and there were unknown how many dense cracks appeared on the ground. Occasionally there are a few bottomless cracks, there are flames beating and burning, and white smoke slowly rises. Every time the immortal ability is used, it requires such an astonishing consumption. Marco was slightly shocked in his heart. He could clearly understand that he ignored the slash of the rain Shilio this time. The price paid, the terrifying energy consumption, was enough to make Marco frightened. Fortunately, his own regeneration inflammation can be continuously generated. Such an amazing consumption, for me, is not a good thing. In the previous battles, Marco did not have the opportunity to use this regeneration flame, and he did not need the undead ability to participate in the battle at all, and he was worried that his undead ability could not be sharpened and improved in battle. This time being slashed by Kiru and consuming an amazing undead ability, in the long run, it is definitely a good thing for Marco. No one's ability to improve can be for nothing, and the same is true for themselves. Marco understood that facing Rain no Shirlu this time was definitely a great opportunity to improve his immortal ability, and it was precisely because of the latter's strange slash and amazing lethality that it would have an effect on what he needed. You can't be careless, after all. He is the Rain of Cheryu. If Shilio is not strong, how can he sit in the position of the captain of the second ship of the Blackbeard Pirates? Such fierce people, the pirates who have been killed, are countless, and they cannot have any intention of underestimating the enemy. Ding! In the previous 2 life and death battles with the enemy, the auxiliary mechanism of the super auxiliary system was activated, and in the battle, the enemy and the host used armed color domineering at the same time, so that the host obtained the armed color domineering greatly increased space. Please ask the host to competently improve the armed color domineering. In this short time, the system's prompt sounded, which made Marco's eyes brighten. Armed color domineering has once again gained a lot of room for improvement. This is definitely a good gain for him, not only to get rid of the 2 deterrent sub-captains of the Blackbeard Pirates, Aburo Pizarro and Sis's Boschas, but also to raise the domineering power of the armed color again. Airplanes. Marco flipped his palm, and a red and blue flame spear transformed into a conjugation, and at the same time, an extremely strong armed color domineering energy instantly came out of his palm, directly covering this flame spear, making the entire spear flow with black light, red flames, and blue flames, beating on top of the spear, with black light flowing throughout. This weapon. The power skyrockets. This made Marco slightly surprised. Being able to cover the armed color domineering energy on the weapon is already strong enough, but Marco can cover the weapon he has transformed into with flame with the armed color domineering. This increase is not strong. Ding. When the host just uses a large number of fruit ability Immortal ability, the auxiliary mechanism of the system is turned on, and the host obtains a deeper understanding of Immortal ability, and the host is asked to develop and improve it by itself. The sound of the system sounded again, this time with a hint about the undead ability. Perfect. As Marco himself thought, this time a lot of consumption is really of great benefit to himself. This time he fought briefly with Shiru, but there were two extremely dangerous crises. The first is the strange demon knife of Rain no Shilio, the blood blade of the Grey Mountain. Covered with armed domineering, the Grey Mountain blood blade has an irresistible terrifying slashing power, which is why it will cut off Marco's entire arm to pieces. In response to this sword slash, Marco reshapes his wound flesh with a deep blue regeneration flame. The second crisis is that the Rain no Shilio slashed a large amount of sword chi slashing attached to the sword. The dense sword chi slash is powerful as a drizzle, although the destructive power is extremely terrifying, but in the end it cannot be compared with the Grey Mountain blood blade covered with armed domineering. So, Marco used another trick to resist. To outsiders, the previous regeneration flame was like a natural ability, allowing the dense rain of slashes to fall into the air, but Marco himself was extremely clear that it was not a natural ability, far from being as simple and easy as the elemental body of the natural ability. At most, it can be called quasi-natural system or quasi-natural system, which is to quickly turn a certain part of one's body into blue flames in advance, simulating natural abilities to resist the upcoming attack. This trick is similar to katakuri. It takes a short time for a natural ability to elementalize the body, and this move is more demanding, requiring knowing the enemy's attack in advance. In order to bombard Aburo Pizarro, Marco made these preparations in advance to have such an effect. That is, as long as you see that the domineering power is strong enough, you can use this battle at will. Seeing and smelling domineering. Katakuri. Thinking of him, Marco couldn't help but have a little sense of expectation in his heart. This is called the strongest guy who sees and hears domineering. Fight him, it's really exciting. All this is a long story. In fact, it is just a flash of thoughts in Marco's heart, but it actually happened in a very short time. Thundered. At this moment, on the other side, the building that was bumped into by Yuzixuru, a huge tall building, suddenly several blood-colored demon lights flashed from the walls around the tall building, and then, a violent boom sounded. I saw that huge tall building, in the flashing of blood-colored demon light, was like a tofu block. It was instantly cut into countless pieces. With a bang, the entire huge tall building collapsed directly, and smoke and dust billowed out of the sky. Stumble. A blood-colored demon light came out of the billowing smoke and dust, and when everyone saw it clearly, their pupils couldn't help but dilate. That blood-colored demon light turned out to be the demon knife and Grey Mountain blood blade in Yuzixiliu's hand. Episode 41. A whole huge tall building, under the sword of Shilio, was like a tofu block, which was cut into countless pieces and collapsed. Such a scene caused an uproar among many people. Worthy of being the second captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, someone exclaimed in such a low voice. The previous Basha's lost his life under Marco's punch, and this Rain no Shirlu actually looks completely fine. This tall building is the largest in our entire island. It is also the strongest tall building, completely made of boulders. I didn't expect. Under his sword, it was as vulnerable as a tofu block. Many people are incomparably amazed, analogous to several sea thieves, this Rain of Shilio. Definitely the strongest one so far. The tall building that collapsed with a bang stirred up huge stones one after another, constantly rolling down, and Shilio, who could come out of the billowing dust, let the boulders roll down from around his body. His face did not change, and it was strange to say that the countless stones that rolled down from the sky were like being cut off a road, avoiding the rain. Shilio. Seeing such a scene, many pirates were shocked again. In sharp contrast to everyone's amazement, Yuzixiliu himself at this moment is a little unhappy, and he can clearly feel that the place where he was bombarded by Marco's punch is still faintly painful. That kind of pain, sometimes like a burning fire, the pain of burning his heart, sometimes it's cold and bitter. Marco, I really underestimated you. Shilio carried the bloody demon knife Grey Mountain blood blade, and walked out step by step, allowing the rolling rubble to pass by him, without looking at it. How embarrassed he was when he was bombarded before, and how painful the fist mark left behind, how monstrous the hatred in his heart was. The dead Aburo Pizarro and Sis's Basas are more inclined to yearn for the ability to hunt the fruit of the undead, while the Rain no Shirlu is different from them. More desire to kill, more desire to kill, more desire to kill Marco. It's not that you underestimate me, it's that you overestimate yourself. The flaming spear in Marco's hand burning with blue and red flames was pointed directly at the Rain of Shilio, and this time, He was determined to get rid of the Blackbeard's left and right arms and clear a big hidden danger for the future in advance. Swish. When Shilio heard Marco's words, his face became more gloomy and fierce, his eyes were full of murderous intentions, and the demon knife in his hand was instantly cut out, and a huge slash that was tens of meters long slashed straight at Marco with a roar. The terrifying huge slash swept over, everywhere it passed, no matter the trees and houses were all cut in half. This whistling sound became more and more piercing and roaring, sweeping away. Speaking of time and time, in the face of such a mighty slash, Marco did not retreat and rushed away, and the flame spear in his hand swept away in an instant. Bellow. The huge slash that was tens of meters long was swept by Marco with a shot, blocking and cutting off. The terrifying whistling sound caused by the slash passed by Marco's ears, making his clothes hunt, and suddenly, his figure erupted with a powerful force again, leaving a trail of afterimages in place. In the next moment, the flame spear covered with a layer of strong and domineering color had already been killed in front of Yujishi. Swish. Yuzuxilia raised his hand and slashed down a slash from above, and for a while, countless slender slashes appeared, densely packed like a sudden rain falling into the sky. Unlike the last time, this time Yuzuxilia's demon knife, as if it was not real, was hidden in that sudden rain of slashes at a speed that could not be distinguished by the naked eye, making it impossible to distinguish which one was the demon knife. Yes, Marco seemed to sense where the demon knife was. The spear in his hand swept through countless slender slashes like a rain of speeds, and almost instantly, it swept away the demon knife that was about to assassinate his chest. Thundered. The moment the two weapons with extremely terrifying power collided, a circle of ripple-like energy stirred in the air, sweeping out in all directions, and the countless slender slashes like sudden rain were all destroyed in an instant. On the ground, bottomless cracks immediately appeared, and in this terrifying battle, they continued to crack, forming ravines, one after another. At the same time as the deafening terrifying boom sounded, the two of them slashed out again almost at the same time. In this world, there is no one who cannot be killed. Even if it's an undead bird. There must be only one life. The demon knife in Shilio's hand suddenly flashed with blood, and at a strange angle, it slashed towards Marco's neck. Amazing sword energy, swallowing at the tip of the demon sword. One life is enough to kill you. In the face of Shilio's powerful sword slash, Marco's heart suddenly became clear. He seemed to be able to vaguely see the trajectory of various subtle things around his body, saying that it was too late and fast, and the spear in his hand instantly crossed. Rumble. The two weapons carrying extremely lethal power collided together again, and the sound of metal delivery burst out, extremely harsh, and the air was centered on the place where the two weapons collided, erupting into a circle of terrifying energy, sweeping out. Thundered. Rows of houses collapsed almost instantly. For a time, the dust flew, the rubble tumbled, the rubble splashed, and the dust instantly filled the air. Boom. At the moment when the smoke and dust were filled, Marco and Shirlu had fought more than 10 times, and the smoke and dust that spread out made the pirates in the distance unable to see the specific situation inside. They could only see from a distance. In the smoke, there was constantly a red blood light flashing, and at the same time, the blue flames continued to rage. Rumble. Suddenly, a terrifying figure flew out of the smoke and dust. What? Everyone saw the scene clearly, and they were all instantly stunned. I saw Shilio flying out of the smoke-filled midair, and his body was covered by a flaming spear with a crystal blue body. Hole through that flaming spear. Leave a series of blue phantoms in midair. Episode 42. Pierced through the body by a flaming spear. Will he die? Someone said so worriedly. The battle is over like this? This? Too fast, right? I'm not even enjoying it. Many people stared at each other in shock, following Shiru. Their eyes fell on the blazing spear, the spear that killed the Rain no Shiryu's body. In the midst of many surprised eyes, Kiru, who was flying upside down, smashed several houses on both sides of the street, dragging out a long stream of dust, and finally barely stabilized his figure. Shilio looked down incredulously at the spear he was rubbing on his waist. He had just fought fiercely with Marco. Just because of a move that fell into the downwind, he was seized by Marco and shot through the flesh, but fortunately he reacted quickly and avoided the heart point. Otherwise, this shot goes down. I'm afraid half of his life will be here. Hiss. Seeing such a scene, many pirates couldn't help but gasp. Marco really shot through Rain no Shiru's waist? While everyone exclaimed, Kiru himself was. I feel a little pain in my back. That's not true. My waist. Shilio always felt that his waist was extremely painful. He had also been pierced through his body before, but he had never felt such pain. This is probably hurt to the waist. He stretched out a hand to grab the spear at the wound at his waist, and just wanted to pull it out, but saw the blue flame spear directly turn into a little blue light and dissipate, which made Shilio slightly stunned. I see. Marco is a phantom beast ability, not a natural ability. After the flame weapon he conjured up leaves his hand, it will continue to decay and weaken until it disappears. She is right. The phantom beast species is not a natural system, and the blue flame of the undead bird is made of the body part, and after leaving the body, it will indeed decay and weaken until it dissipates. Seeing the scene where the blue spear was grabbed by Yujishi and directly dissipated, many pirates couldn't help but widen their eyes, one by one, unable to understand what the situation was. They thought It is the means of Rain no Kiru. They were surprised for a while. Worthy of being the former warden of Imper Deep Sea Prison, he can grab Marco's spear and dissipate it with one claw. Such a strong person, as the captain of the second ship of the Blackbeard Pirates, is really terrible. Yes. In great contrast to everyone's surprise, Shiru, who just wanted to kill Marco again, changed his face in vain. His hand violently pressed the wound on his waist, and his heart was like a terrifying wave constantly rolling. My waist. At this moment, Uzixiliu only felt that his waist had been traumatized like never before, and the pain of the cone heart continued to invade his waist, sometimes like a blazing fire, sometimes like an extremely cold cone, the erosion of this ice and fire to heavens, so that Uzixiliu's fierce and violent face was full of hideousness and distortion. Pain. It hurts. The pain is piercing. This kind of waist burst after burst, continuous pain, even a strong person of the level of Uzixiliu felt trembling for a while. My waist. It hurts. Rain Shilio let out a long roar, and ripples formed in the air and spread out continuously, and the heart-wrenching whistling sound stung everyone's eardrums. Everyone was dumbfounded. They just felt that Uzixiliu was strong and invincible, felt that his methods were strange, and felt that he was extremely awesome. Who knows, less than a minute has passed, but they saw him holding his old waist with his hands, hissing and roaring. This huge change in painting style, this strong sense of gap, caught everyone off guard for a while, and they were stunned one by one. Marco looked stunned. He originally just wanted to leave some wounds on Shiru's body first and weaken his physical strength. Who knew that this guy reacted quickly and dodged the moment his spear pierced him, and the result was self-defeating. It happened to pierce through his waist. You may not believe it when you say it, this is completely caused by Shiru's cleverness. Of course, after that, the flame spear dissipated, which is Marco's active means, and the flame spear he conjured up will not weaken to dissipate in such a short time. But Marco deliberately did it. He poured all the energy of the flame spear into the tip of the spear and entered the waist of Shirlu, so the body of the gun would dissipate in such a short time. And the tip of the gun in the body of the rain is completely left in it. The tip of that spear has two forces. One, extremely cold and freezing air. One, breath, the flame of the heat. These two forces entered Shilio's body, invading the nearest kidney without reservation, and wreaking havoc. Then there was the result of Shi's back pain, to the bottom of the exhaustion. The change of painting style is too fast. 1 second it is still awe-inspiring. One is about to pull out the spear at the waist, and the next second it is a long whistling back pain. Such a strange change of painting style, which made everyone stunned for a while. Just imagine, a fierce sea thief, pierced through the flesh without frowning, but suddenly covered his waist, his face full of pain twisted, and shouted, "My waist hurts so much." What an unacceptable picture. Yes, right at this moment, everyone suddenly saw the red blood light in front of Yujishi's body, flashed, and then a poof sound came out. And when they looked again, they saw that Yujishi's waist was cut open, and in his hands, he held the bloody demon knife gray mountain blood blade in one hand, and held a red as fire and a deep blue as ice in the other. Kidney, Rain no Shiru. He cut the kidney? All the pirates were frightened and stupid, and some even had soft feet, almost paralyzed with fright. Shilio indifferently twisted the blood-dripping kidney in his hand. Lao Tzu used the kidney in his hand to exchange you for a flower, an evaluation ticket, and a monthly ticket. Is it feasible? Kind of interesting. Episode 43. Cut the kidney. That's right, it was to cut the kidney. Shilio did not hesitate, and directly cut off the kidney that brought pain to him. A bloody kidney was still dripping blood in Uzixiliu's hands. This cruel picture scared many people. Marco is not surprised at all. A person like Shiryu who is extremely murderous, whether to the enemy or to himself, will be as cruel as ever, and there is nothing to fuss about. Marco. Uzixiliu's fierce eyes became red as blood, the killing intent on his body was boiling, and his back hurt to cut his kidneys, which not only brought him pain, but also a shame for him, a great shame. His eyes as red as blood, staring at Marco deadly. I will cut off your human skin and let you enjoy it before you die. What is called suffering. Tick, tick. While Shilio was speaking, the kidney in his hand was constantly dripping blood. Boom, and suddenly, Shilio pinched the kidney in his hand. I will let you have a good aftertaste. The thrill of death. Before the words fell, the demon knife gray mountain blood blade in his hand suddenly turned and slashed out at Marco. Rumble. A huge and incomparable blood-colored crescent slashed out. The brilliant blood light instantly illuminated the entire street. The blood-colored crescent slashed directly at Marco. Where it passed, the ground of the street was instantly cut open. A bottomless ravine continued to spread with the slash. The earth and stones in the sky were lifted away, and for a time, this island was like a blood-colored purgatory on earth. It's too late, it's too soon. Marco volleyed in the air with one hand, and his 5 fingers formed into a fist, and instantly blasted out. Rumble. The blue flame soared into the sky from his arm and spread to his fist, and in an instant, his fist turned into a behemoth. It turned out to be a fiery phoenix, surging flame soaring into the sky, the roaring sound, like a fire phoenix roaring, facing the huge blood-colored crescent slash, attacking and killing, thundered. The blood light and blue flame collided together, just like the blood moonlight colliding with the blue sun, and the terrifying explosion broke out instantly. With a boom, the entire island fell into a violent shaking, and countless houses collapsed in this violent vibration, turning into ruins. The formation was constantly being lifted away, and countless earth and stones were annihilated in two majestic energy explosions. Whoosh! In the terrifying and fierce collision, like a blue flame phoenix emitting a solitary and lofty roar, an irresistible coercion burst out. All this is a long story, but it only happened in a very short period of time. The blood-colored giant crescent-shaped slash, at this moment, directly shattered into countless tiny blood lights, engulfed and annihilated by the blue flames, and the huge flame fire phoenix with irreversible coercion instantly bombarded the rain. Shirio's face instantly became distorted, and he let out a long roar of anger, and the unwilling anger was roaring, like a rolling thunder explosion. I will kill you. Kill kills. In the blood-colored eyes of Shirio, there was only endless killing left. In the face of the flame phoenix that rushed to kill and weigh out everything, Shiryu did not flinch half a step. He, without fear, will not have the slightest sense of fear. His whole person rushed to the flames, rushed to kill regardless of life and death. In an instant, the rushing rain Shiryu slashed out one after another terrifying blood-colored slashes, and the huge blood-colored crescent slashes, the moment they formed, set off a blood-colored storm. The blocks of formations were lifted away, countless buildings were destroyed, and the blood soared into the sky, slashing the flames and phoenixes. The entire island was shaken like never before. The pirates watching the battle from afar, one by one, panicked. Boom! The earth and stones that were thrown away bombarded in all directions, and those pirates watching the battle were chaotic for a while. Escape! There are pirates who scream in terror, flee frantically, dodging the raging earth and rocks. They want to destroy the entire island? Even if they had retreated to a high ground far away to watch the battle, at this moment, a real fierce war broke out, and the flames of war also enveloped them and affected them. For a time, everyone is at risk. The pirates who were not strong enough failed to dodge a huge stone whistling in the middle of the battle, and were directly smashed off half of their bodies, and they didn't even have time to scream, and they died completely. The rest of the pirates around him turned blue with fright, screamed in horror, and fled in panic. They paid a heavy price for watching the battle. At this moment, no one dared to stay on the island to watch the battle, and everyone fled frantically. This island. Faltering, boom! The flame phoenix shattered one blood-colored slash after another in a sweeping posture, and the slash like a raging storm was destroyed and suppressed, until the last slash was destroyed, and the fire phoenix also dissipated. At this time, Marco and Shiru are already close. The two jumped up at the same time and rushed towards each other. For the terrifying firelight, violent vibration, and tumbling earth and stones around them, the two did not even look at it, and at this moment, in their eyes, there was only one existence. That's the enemy. Swish! Shiryu cut out the last sword, the bloody demon knife. With terrifying lethality, the blood flashed, cut down on Marco's chest, stabbed, a large area of blood flew, and a deep white bone slash was instantly exposed. Rumble! Almost at the same time, Marco Blue Flame's rolling fist slammed into Shiru's face. Being headshot is also a taste of death. Just please be in hell, slowly. Taste it, reign of Shiryu. Boom! The latter's fierce and brutal face burst instantly, and the whole head exploded in response. Jingling, the demon Dao Grey Mountain blood blade fell to the ground, eclipsed. Discoloration. Hulala! The moment Marco landed, a petal of lotus-like dark blue flames emerged from his body, just like a dark blue flame lotus flower blooming instantly, brilliant, gorgeous and dazzling. Marco himself was in the center of the huge flame lotus. Call. In the end, all the dark blue regeneration flames disappeared into Marco's body, and the half of his body that was cut open was counted. Back to the beginning. Episode 44. The violent shaking continued, countless houses were destroyed, the earth was shattered, huge formations were tilted, boulders rolled down, and smoke filled the air. In this candy-shaped island town, because it has been ravaged by pirates all year round, there are not many residents living in the town. Most of them are pirates, and most of the houses destroyed in the battlefield battle were snatched from the original residents by the pirates who settled here. The whole battle did not last long, but for those pirates who watched the battle, it was like a long life and death. Some pirates with less strength died while watching the battle. Don't practice well, improve your strength. Even if you stand far away to watch the battle, you will be shocked to death by the aftermath of the battle. On the sea near the port, there is a small pirate ship, a captain with a shrunken head, who is igniting a few little children. Look at those pirates who were smashed to death by boulders. How arrogant are they on weekdays? As a result, watch others fight and die. This is the end of insufficient strength. Above the sea, the strength is not enough. Even if you want to see, you are not unqualified. To sum up, you guys, honestly train hard for me. The captain was satisfied with his words and nodded to himself. Yes, Captain, we will definitely train hard, practice hard, and desperately improve our strength. In this way, we can watch the battle with a telescope like a captain, without being affected by the battle. That's what the captain said. Is it safe? A group of childish children, each holding a small wooden sword, one by one with a serious face, humming and talking. The captain's hand twisting the telescope froze in the air. Captain, can you lend me your binoculars? A little boy tilted his head and looked expectant. This little devil usually worships the strong, is also the most clever, sharp-eyed and fast, and very likable. Today the captain took them to the nearby sea to appreciate the grandeur of the sea, just in time to meet Marco and the Rain no Shirlu. Then, the captain watched the battle with a telescope that was safe. Take it. As soon as the captain handed over the telescope, the imp immediately reached out and fished it away. Great. This stinky boy, I don't even know thank you. The imp twisted the telescope, pointed it in the direction of the battle, looked over, and followed, wow, and cried out, what's wrong? Before the captain finished speaking, he heard the little ghost head crying, quickly grabbed the telescope, looked in that direction, and followed. The captain was also scared and turned blue. Boom. Headshot, Rain no Shiru. Headshot. The pirates who had just fled from the island to the sea, hearing this, in an instant, their eyes widened one by one, and their jaws almost fell into the sea. What? Rain no Shiru. Got a headshot? For a time, the pirates who fled to the port were in an uproar. The most vicious group of the 4 Emperor's pirates in the New World, the captain of the second ship of the Blackbeard Pirates, Rain no Shiru. Got a headshot? Is this horrible battle over? All the pirates looked at one place in unison, where Marco and Shirlu fought. Soon, the violent shaking on the island shook and gradually calmed down, and many pirates confirmed that the battle was over, and they dared to set foot on the island again. When they entered the island and saw that after the battle, the huge crack that was dense and bottomless, the huge formation that sloped between the cracks, everyone was violently shaken. Yes, when they saw Shirlu's corpse, everyone was like being struck by 3,000 lightning, their heads buzzing, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. It's true. Rain no Kira really. Headshot. When they looked along the body of Shiru and saw the safe and sound Marco, everyone was once again violently shaken. Shoo. For a time, the sound of pumping air conditioners continued to echo on the island. Actually, nothing at all. This is Undead Bird Marco. Is it? Those pirates who had the courage to return to the island were all stunned in place, looking at Marco who was safe and sound, and their hearts were like shocking waves. Marco stood there, the smoke had long since cleared, and a sea breeze blew his short sleeves to the ground. There are countless pirates on the island, but none of them dare to approach here. Even, Marco's gaze swept over, obviously so far away, many pirates, but still by this exceptionally calm gaze and momentum. Frightened legs soft, bang, kneel. The rest of the pirates were also frightened and retreated one after another. Don't dare to get half a step closer, let alone take a look at Marco. Ding. The most dangerous battle since the host experienced rebirth this time. In the intense and dangerous fight, the super assistance system turned on the auxiliary mechanism, and the host's physical skills have been greatly improved. Please combine the fruit ability and develop the physical skills by yourself. The system's prompt sounded, and the corner of Marco's mouth showed a curve. Harvest time arrived. It's a delight. Ding. Another system prompt sounds. At the end of the host's sinister and vicious battle, he fought head-on with the big sword hero holding the famous sword with his bare hands, and he was fully focused in the tense battle, and the super assistance system assisted the host to awaken at the most critical moment. Episode 45. Seeing and smelling domineering. At the same time, the host's domineering power has been improved to a certain extent. When the system's words were finished, Marco's eyes lit up. This battle is really full of gains. Not only the ability to die has been greatly improved, but also the physical skills have been improved again. Even the domineering power he has always wanted is also perfectly awakened. There is also a certain level of improvement. Seeing and hearing domineering is actually a kind of perception wave that exists around everyone's body, but only 1 in 10 million people can awaken and use it independently. It's not difficult. Ding. This is not over. The third prompt tone of the system sounded again, this time, completely made Marco's exceptionally calm personality become excited. At the end of the final battle, the host stands in place, scaring off the rest of the pirates with momentum, and with the assistance of the super assistance system, the host completes the initial awakening of the overlord domineering. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Marco is extremely excited in his heart. This battle, the harvest is really rich, super cost-effective. Sure enough, fighting is the best way to improve your strength. Armed color domineering, seeing and smelling domineering, overlord color domineering. For this 3-color domineering, not only must it be used, but also used to be truly mastered. While improving and developing the ability of fruits, it is also necessary to improve and develop and apply domineering. Marco understands that his current armed color domineering is strong enough, but there is still great room for improvement. Seeing and hearing domineering has gained a certain amount of room for improvement, and it needs to be greatly improved. The overlord color domineering has only been initially mastered, and it still needs to be improved. If I'm not mistaken, a few people from the red-haired pirate group can shoot out armed domineering wrapping bullets. This use is a level higher than covering weapons for battle. The top war impressed Marco, and finally Ben Beckman pointed a gun at the Admiral Yellow Ape, forcing the latter to raise his hands and not dare to move. As the general of the Shining Fruit, Yellow Ape, will be afraid of a pistol, and it is easy to deduce that there are only two possibilities: either the pistol bullet is a seafloor stone, or Ben Beckman's armed color is domineering enough to wrap the bullet to shoot. Marco prefers the latter. If you can fight a few fights with the adults of the red-haired pirate group, it may have a lot of improvement help for my tricolor domineering. It seems that there will be a chance to contact the red-haired pirate group. This kind of opportunity to improve the domineering tricolor, Marco will not let go. Back to business. After summarizing the gains of this battle, Marco also began to think about the Blackbeard Pirates. This time, Shilio is a complete surprise. Buy 2 get 1 free. This 1 cent is still greater than 2. It's not too cool. However, now to face, it is the decision Blackbeard will make after knowing this news. So, I need to finish more hunting as soon as possible. Marco has always advocated taking the initiative, and since he has made up his mind to take the initiative to hunt them before the Blackbeard Pirates deal with him, so as to weaken their overall strength, then just keep hunting. With a super support system, hunting members of the Blackbeard Pirates can also perfectly improve their own strength. Why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone? The other side, Happy Street Islands. The Happy City, which has been rebuilt and repaired, has returned to its former lights and wine, neon flashing, and pirates come and go, and the pirates who come here are all kinds and have their own purposes. Lord Stussy. For the time being, I have not heard the latest news about the island of Stanselt. A subordinate came over and respectfully reported the latest news to Stussy, who was sitting on the leather sofa. Can't even we find out the latest news? Stussy, who was curled up in the red leather sofa, trembled slightly in the goblet in his hand, and the red wine inside shook slightly. Marco. Nothing will happen, right? She didn't want anything from Marco in her heart. After all, she paid a lot of price in order to find out the news of the Blackbeard Pirates, one of which is it may be detected by the people of the Blackbeard Pirates at any time. This is the enemy of the Blackbeard Pirates, and once Marco has an accident, Stuxy can be completely cold. Of course, in her heart, there is another layer of meaning. She does not want Marco to have an accident. Lord Marco. There will be no accident. Bolivia, who was on the side, bit her lip lightly and said firmly. Although they said so, the 2 women were almost the same worry in their hearts. It's normal to say, the island of Stanselt, which is very far from here, was almost sunk by the entire island, and there were countless bottomless cracks in the center of the battle, and that area was completely destroyed, and it may be a little difficult to convey the latest news in a short time, unless there are subordinates on the island. After all, pirates rely on the world's newspapers and talking to each other to get their information across. Coincidentally, on the island of Stanselt, there were neither sea pirates, nor sailors, nor news agency writers, even the people of the Blackbeard Pirates. After the death of Abro Pizarro, Sis's Boschas, and Rain no Lu, there was no one else. At the beginning, in order to hunt those with devil fruit abilities and avoid scaring snakes, the Blackbeard Pirates almost all went out at the captain level themselves, and did not carry their subordinates. While the 2 women were worried, the phone worm that Stussy carried with him rang. It's his call. Stussy hurriedly connected the phone worm, and on his delicate and beautiful face, he said slightly nervously, Marco, you okay? Immediately after, bar click, the telephone bug receiver held in Stussy's tender white hand fell off. Her whole person was stunned there. What's going on? What's going on? Is Lord Marco in danger? Seeing this, Bolivia immediately became nervous, quickly grabbed Stussy's hand, and asked a series of questions. Abro Pizarro, Sis's Boschas, and Hilliu of Rain appeared on the island of Stanselt. Hearing that Shilio, a fierce sea thief, even Bolivia's heart couldn't help but tighten. Sis's Boschas, Abro Pizarro, and Rain no Hilliu appeared on the island at the same time, with the previous message to Marco. Wrong. Stuxy's subordinates on the side became even more nervous, and now, they are grasshoppers in the same boat as Marco, and Marco can't be fine. Yes, those 3 fierce and brutal sea thieves appeared on that island at the same time. In the eyes of everyone, Marco's action this time, I'm afraid. Dangerous, just. The next words of Stussy made several subordinates and Bolivia present stunned on the spot, dumbfounded. They've been all hunted by Marco.